Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha. Jaya Girivara Dari. Jaya Girivara Dari. Jaya Yashodananda Jaya Pratijana Ranjana Jaya Yashodananda Jaya Pratijana Ranjana Jaya Yashodananda Jaya Pratijana Ranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Prajajana Ranjana Jaya Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Vihari 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय जगन्नाथ बल्लेश्वर माई की जय नरसिंह भगवान की जय पंचतत्व की जय षड गोस्वामी की जय गुरु परंपरा की जय शिव गोपाल की जय गुरुदेव शंकर ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयं उदीरयेत्. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of God Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati neishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable right. Hare Krishna, Prabhu's Mataji, welcome all of you. Thank you for joining and keeping up the appointment with Krishna. So we are continuing Bhagavatam from 3rd canto, 16th chapter. Today 2 verses we'll be taking, 14 and 15. Let us recite and then we'll start discussing this. 3, 16, 14. Satim vyadaya shrinvanto lagvim gurvarta gahvaram vigaya gada gambhiram na vidustaccha kirshitam. Satim vyadaya shrinvanto lagvim gurvarta gahvaram vigaya gada gambhiram na vidustaccha kirshitam. Satim vyadaya shranvanto Lagvim gurvarta gahvaram Vigahya gada gambhiram Na vidustachikirshitam. Anybody who wants to recite?
Hare Krishna, may I?
Please.
Satim vyataya shranvanto lagvim kurvarta kakvaram vikagyagada gambhiram na vidustachikirshitam.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
May I, Prabhu?
Yes, please, Mataji, go ahead.
Satim vyadaya shrinvanto lagvim gurvarta gahvaram vigahya gada gambhiram na vidusta chikirshitam. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, synonyms, word to word meaning. Satim, excellent. Vyadaya, with attentive oral reception. Shranvataha, hearing. Lagvim, properly composed. Guru, momentous. Artha, import. Gahvaram, difficult to understand. Vigahya, pondering. Agada, deep. Gambhiram, grave. Na, not. Viduhu, understand. Tat, of the Supreme Lord. Chikirshitam, the intention. Translation and purpose by Divine Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please hear the translation. The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do. But it should be understood that no one can surpass the Supreme Personality of Godhead in speaking. There is no difference between the Supreme Person and his speeches, for he stands on the absolute platform. The sages tried with wide open ears to understand the words from the lips of the Supreme Lord. But although his speech was very concise and meaningful, the sages could not completely comprehend what he was saying. They could not even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do. Nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. This is the 15th verse. Te yogamaya yarabdha parameshya mahodayam prochu pranjalayo vipraha prahishta shubhitatvachah te yogamaya yarabdha parameshya mahodayam prochu pranjalayo vipraha prahishta shubhitatvachah te yogamaya yarabdha parameshya mahodayam rochu pranjalayo vipraha prahishta shubhitatvachah. Anybody wants to recite? Go ahead.
Yogamaya yarabdha parameshtya mahodayam prochu pranjalayo vipraha prakrushta kshubi tatvachaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I can't see the Sanskrit.
Just
It's
told
not
Radhika, just
visible on the
one
screen.
moment. You're able to see now?
No, sir.
I'll just, sorry about that. Just give me a minute. I'm sorry.
Yes.
It's slow today. One, just yeah. Now we can see Mataji.
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, good, Mataji. No, Mataji, you can recite. You are able to see? Hare Krishna.
Mataji has left, Prabhuji. I think internet connection is some problem.
Connection, yeah. I had to do. Okay, fine. We go to the word to word meanings now. They, those, Yoga Maya, through his internal potency. Arabdha had been revealed. Parameshtya of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahaudayam, multi-glories. Prochuhu spoke. Pranjalayaha with folded hands. Vipraha, the four Brahmanas. Rashtaha, extremely delighted. Shubhita with Tvachaha, hair standing on it. Translation and purport is Divine Geshe. The four Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord, who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yogamaya. Purport. The sages were almost too puzzled to speak before the Supreme Personality of Godhead for the first time, and the hairs of their bodies stood erect due to their extreme joy. The highest opulence in the material world is called Parameshtya, the opulence of Brahma. But that material opulence of Brahma, who lives on the topmost planet within this material world, cannot compare to the opulence of the Supreme Lord, because the transcendental opulence in the spiritual world is caused by Yoga Maya, whereas opulence in the material world is caused by Mahamaya. Prabhupada ki jai. Om Jnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Subhadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yanta Pravishya Mamavachima Prasuptam Sanjeevayate Kalashakti Dharasvadam Anyam Chahasta Charana Shvadagadhin Prana Namo Bhagavate Prashayatubhyam So Hare Krishna Prabhu. So this chapter, it is continuing now, wherein the four Sanat Kumaras entered the Vaikuntha, and the doorkeepers of Krishna, Jaya and Vijaya, they stopped them and they cursed them, right? And then Krishna is coming. So this, it's very beautiful. See, in the 30th, just before this verse, previous verse, no, Brahma is telling, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns. See, in Bhagavad Gita, it is stated that no one can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is confirmed in the Vedas also. Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadati Kama. He is a supreme living entity and is supplying the necessities of all other living entities. See, among the living entities, no one can surpass the Supreme Person, because no one is richer, more famous, stronger, more beautiful, wiser, or more renounced than Krishna. So these qualifications make him the Supreme Godhead, the cause of all causes, Sarva Karana Karanam. See, yogis are very proud of performing wonderful feats, but no one can compare to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. See, we were, while discussing this verse, in the 14th verse itself, the translation is like that this Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend for the Sanat Kumaras. They were telling, because of its momentous import and its profound significance. See, the sages, that is Sanat Kumaras, they heard it with very wide open ears and also thought about it, pondered it as well. But although they were hearing, they could not understand what Krishna was intending to do. And in the last line, in the purport, Prabhupada says, they could not even comprehend the purport of the speech or what the Supreme Lord wanted to do. The last statement is more important, which Prabhupada says, nor could they understand whether the Lord was angry or pleased with them. So it's a very important point to understand. So the point we should understand is, the answer is given in the 16th verse by Prabhupada. But he gives the answer when they were not able to understand what the Lord was saying. Here, the sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do. For even though you are the Supreme Ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you. This is what Sanat Kumara is telling. And Prabhupada very beautifully says in the purport, the sages could understand that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone, was speaking as if he were in the wrong. Therefore, it was difficult for them to understand the words of the Lord. See, what a nice point. The translation, it says that Krishna is speaking as though he's speaking in the favor, that's as though the Sanat Kumara has done a very good thing for the Lord. And Prabhupada very nicely gives the clarification. It was difficult for the sages to understand the words of the Lord, right? Because it felt that that Krishna was speaking as if he were in the wrong. So they could understand that the Lord was speaking in such a humble way just to show them his all merciful favor. See, in the beautiful pastime of Lord Vamanadeva, we see the Lord appears in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. And the king, he very respectfully welcomes the Lord and he washes his lotus feet and says that he feels that he and his predecessors had certainly been glorified. Then Bali Maharaj requests the Lord to ask him for money, jewels, or anything he might desire. See, when the Lord heard Bali Maharaj speak in such a pleasing way, the Lord was very satisfied. Because Bali Maharaj has spoken in terms of religious principles. Then the Lord glorifies and praises Bali Maharaj's speech. And in the 8th canto, 19th chapter, 2nd verse, the Lord says very nicely the reason why Bali Maharaj could speak like that. Krishna is telling why Bali Maharaj was able to speak such a with religious principles, no? How he could speak like that. He says, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O King, you are indeed exalted because your present advisors are the Brahmanas, who are descendants of Bhrigu. And because your instructor for your future life is your grandfather, the peaceful and venerable Prahlad Maharaj. So your statements are very true, and they completely agree with religious etiquette. They are in keeping with the behavior of your family, and they enhance your reputation. So we can learn from this verse how we should speak and what would enable us to achieve this standard. So let us see first a few points. He says in the verse it is Sunritam. First line they say Sunritam. It says our statements must be true. See, whatever we speak must be spoken in a very pleasing way also. We can see in Bhagavatam, verse 8:19:1, Prabhupada gives the equivalent of Sunritam as very pleasing. That is why our Vedic scriptures insist, speak truth in such a way that it should be pleasing to others. Never speak truth which is unpleasant to others. Never speak untruth which might be pleasant. This is the path of eternal morality. So see, to speak truth is an eternal value, irrespective of time and place. But the expression of truth should be accompanied by two conditions. Firstly, it should be presented in a loving manner. And secondly, it should be spoken for the betterment of others. We should be careful in speaking the truth. See, the purpose should be good. The words used and the manner in which they are spoken are important. So the value of truthfulness is relative to a situation. See, there is an interesting story of a king and the astrologer. The king produced his horoscope before an astrologer, and asked him about his future. The astrologer, he pondered the positions of the planets and consulted the Shastras, and finally he gave his verdict. He said, Maharaj, all your relatives will die before you. You will perform their all the whatever after death regulations, everything with your own hands. So the king became furious. He was very much attached to his relatives, and he could not tolerate such a verdict. So what did the king do? He at once ordered that the poor astrologer should be given imprisonment for life. Now the king sent for another astrologer. This man was more tactful than the first. He found that the previous astrologer's readings were absolutely correct. So what did he do? He tactfully put the same truth the other way around. He said, Maharaj, you have a very long life. You will live longer than your relatives. This also meant that all his relatives would die while the king was alive. The same fact had been very tactfully told to please the king. So the king was highly pleased with the astrologer and gave him rich and costly presents. Therefore, it is said that even while telling the truth, one should tell it in a pleasant manner. Even a truth should not be told in a way that will hurt the feelings of others. If it is told so, when it hurts them, then it will be tantamount to untruth only. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, 15th verse, austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. That's why my Guru Maharaj used to repeatedly quote a very beautiful verse from the scriptures. Priya Vakya Pradhanena Sarve Tushyanti Jantavaha Tasma Tadeva Vaktavyam Vachaneshu Kim Daridritaha. By speaking pleasing words, all the living entities are satisfied. Therefore, always speak sweetly. Why are you so poor in your sentences? Right? The another word in this verse was, the Bali Maharaj, wherein Krishna is telling him, he says, Kulochitam, that is exactly befitting your dynasty. See, when we are born or anyway associated with the exalted dynasty, which has produced great personalities, it is important that we remember this and speak in a befitting manner, not bringing down the honor of the great personalities. That's why in this current chapter which we are discussing, the 5th verse, Krishna speaks, a wrong act committed by a servant leads people in general to blame his master. Just as a spot of white leprosy on any part of the body pollutes all of the skin. Therefore, a devotee's speech and action should be blameless, because any offense by the devotee is a scar on the Supreme Personality of God. Also, we should always remember that we are representing our highly exalted spiritual masters in all the situations, and hence should be very careful and conscious in our speech and just not speak frivolously. Another point was Dharma Yutam, that is completely in accordance with the principles of religion. Our speech should be completely in accordance with the religious principles. This will come only with the regular study of scriptures and continuous hearing from the bona fide spiritual master, who is an authority as far as religious principles are concerned. See, we see that when Ashwatthama was responsible for the killing of the Pandavas' children, he was arrested and brought before Draupadi. And what did Draupadi do? She requests for the release of Ashwatthama. And she speaks gloriously, citing the religious principles. And it's very much appreciated by Maharaj Yudhishthira and all others assembled, including the Lord. So, even in such a distressful situation, Draupadi was speaking in accordance with the principles of religion. So, when we speak in accordance with the principles of religion, justice, mercy, and speech without duplicity is automatically assured. Now, let us see to what extent Krishna can go to fulfill his promise that he will save his devotees from all dangers. In Bhagavad Gita, said to Arjuna, please declare it boldly, Name Bhaktya Pranashyati, my devotees will never perish. See, the episode of this current episode of Doorkeepers of Vaikuntha, Jaya and Vijaya, being cursed by the Sanat Kumaras, reveals this glory of the Lord. When the Sanat Kumaras went to Vaikuntha, the two doorkeepers stopped them from entering. So what happened? Being enraged at this audacious behavior of the doorkeepers, the sages cursed them to go down to the middle world. So at this time, the Supreme Lord, Krishna, is sensing that something wrong is going on, immediately rushes to the entrance. Right? So on seeing the transcendental beauty of the Lord and the aroma of the tulsi leaves from his garland, Sanat Kumars were completely in bliss. Though they realized that they cursed the doorkeepers out of undue anger, no? Still the Lord goes out of the way to seek forgiveness from the sages for the doorkeepers' offense. He said, please forgive me for whatever offense my servants have done. So the 6th verse, no, in the 366, it reveals to what extent the Lord is willing to go to protect his devotees. That's why in this verse, no, Krishna is telling anyone in the entire world, even down to the Chandala, who lives by cooking and eating the flesh of the dog, is immediately purified if he takes bath in hearing through the ear of the glorification of my name and fame, etc. So now you have realized me without doubt. Therefore, I will not hesitate to lop off my own arm if its conduct is found hostile to you. He said, cut off his arm. See, there are two parts in this verse. The first part will tell us what we should do. The second part tells us what Krishna will do to us in return. The first part is what we should do. We should daily take bath in the hearing of the uncontaminated nectarian glories of the Lord's name, fame. And what Krishna will do? If we purify ourselves in this way, the Lord will protect us at any cost. So it is absolutely really unfathomable as to what extreme the Lord can go to protect his devotees. Ananya Sintayantu Mam Ye Jana Paripasate Tesham Nityabhyuktanam Yogakshemam Hami. See, Krishna says he's willing to cut off his own arms if it is disturbing to his devotees. He says that his devotees are more dear to him than his own body. So where can we get a Lord so merciful and so loving as like him? See, but for the Lord to love us like that, we need to understand the first part of this verse, because that is specifically important for us. First, what we should do, right? So we need to purify ourselves completely of the material contamination. How? By bathing in hearing of Krishna Katha and Krishna Nama Sankirtan. Bathing means we should completely immerse ourselves. It may be that we are occupied in our day-to-day prescribed duties and responsibilities, right? Definitely you have to do that. Wherever you are positioned now, please continue. But even if we can keep away a small portion of every day's time to chanting Krishna's names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Reading Bhagavad Gita with full intensity and concentration. That is as good as performing bhakti for the whole day. Even if you do for half an hour or 1 hour maximum. So if we organize ourselves with quality chanting and study, then definitely the Lord will protect us, like he has mentioned in his extraordinary statement in this verse. So let us not blame Krishna, even after coming to the path of Krishna consciousness, that he is not protecting us from danger, he is partial. No. Unless we perform quality bhakti, we do not deserve to be protected by the Lord, even though the merciful Lord is already protecting us in so many ways. So let us take a powerful message from this verse, no, and improve the quality of our bhakti constantly. Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. See, performing devotional service in all material conditions is one of the symptoms of mature devotional service. Srila Prabhupada used to tell the story of one man who was sitting near the beach for a long time. And someone asked him, why is he sitting there? Man replied that he wants to have a bath in the sea, but was waiting for the waves to settle down. The waves of the sea will never stop. So in the same way, material nature will always have the waves and whirlpool coming in our lives. And we should not wait for the waves and whirlpool to stop. That will never happen. So therefore, better to continue with our devotional service with enthusiasm and confidence. Krishna always wants to elevate the living entities to pure devotional service. See now, the 15th verse of today's class is talking about opulence, Yogamaya, Mahamaya, right? See the purport of 5th canto, 24th chapter, 22nd verse. Prabhupada says, there are two kinds of opulence. One, which results from one's karma, is material, whereas other is spiritual. A surrendered soul who fully depends upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not want material opulence for self-gratification. Therefore, when a pure devotee is seen to possess exalted material opulence, it is not due to his karma, rather it is due to his bhakti. Very encouraging words, right? In other words, he is in that position because the Supreme Lord wants him to execute service to him very easily and opulently. The special mercy of the Lord for the neophyte devotee is that he becomes materially poor. This is the Lord's mercy, because if a neophyte devotee becomes materially opulent, he forgets the service of the Lord. However, if an advanced devotee is favored by the Lord with opulence, it is not material opulence, but a spiritual opportunity. Material opulence offered to the demigods causes forgetfulness of the Lord. But opulence was given to Bali Maharaj for continuing his service to the Lord, which was free from any touch of Maya. See, if one is placed in material opulence, I think this is the purport of 4th canto, 30th chapter, 19th verse. Prabhupada says, if one is placed in material opulence due to the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you should not consider the opulence the cause of bondage. When a mature devotee is blessed with material opulence, he does not become affected adversely, because he knows how to employ material opulence in the service of the Lord. Very important. See, there are many such examples in the history of the world. There are kings like Prithu Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka, Dhruva, right? Vaivasvata Manu, Maharaj Ikshvaku. So all of these great kings were especially favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If a devotee is not mature, the Supreme Lord will take away all his opulence. As he says, Krishna says, my first mercy shown to my devotee is to take away all his material opulence. Material opulence, detrimental to devotional service, is taken away by the Supreme Lord. Whereas the person who is mature in devotional service is given all material facilities. So you can choose yourself, right? Prabhupada is very clear in these statements. And again, in the purport of 10th canto, 1st chapter, 6th, 9th verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead ordered Yogamaya to bewilder his associates in his pastimes and bewilder demons like Kamsa. To give service to the Lord, Yogamaya appeared along with Mahamaya. Mahamaya refers to one who bewilders the entire material world. That is Mahamaya. See, from this statement, it is to be understood that Yogamaya, in her partial expansion, becomes Mahamaya. Yogamaya, in her partial expansion, becomes Mahamaya and bewilders the conditions. See, the entire creation has two divisions: transcendental or spiritual and material. Yogamaya manages the spiritual world, and by her partial expansion as Mahamaya, she manages the material world. As it is stated in Narada Pancharatra, Mahamaya is a partial expansion of Yogamaya. See, the Narada Pancharatra clearly states that the Supreme Personality has one potency, which is sometimes described as Durga. The Brahma Samhita says, Chaye Vayasya Bhavanani Vibharti Durga. So Durga is not different from Yogamaya. When one understands Durga properly, he is immediately liberated. For Durga is originally the spiritual potency, that is Hladini Shakti, by whose mercy one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead very easily. Radha Krishna Pranava Vikriti Hladini Shakti Rasmad. The Mahamaya Shakti is a covering of Yogamaya, and she is therefore called the covering potency. So by this covering potency, the entire material world is bewildered So bewildering the conditioned souls and liberating the devotees are both functions belonging to Yogamaya. See, the transferring the pregnancy of Devaki and keeping Mother Yashoda in deep sleep were both done by Yogamaya. Mahamaya cannot act upon such devotees, for they are always liberated. Although it is not possible for Mahamaya to control liberated souls or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she did bewilder Kamsa. The action of Yogamaya in presenting herself before Kamsa was the action of Mahamaya, not Yogamaya. So Yogamaya cannot even see or touch such polluted persons as Kamsa. So the distinction between the two Mayas, Yogamaya and Mahamaya, is described that Krishna's Rasalila with the gopis and the gopis' bewilderment in respect to their husbands, father-in-law, and other such relatives were arrangements of Yogamaya in which Mahamaya had no influence. So Bhagavatam gives sufficient evidence of this when it clearly says, Yogamaya upashitaha. See, on the other hand, there are asuras headed by Salva and Kshatriyas like Duryodhana who are bereft of devotional service in spite of seeing Krishna's carrier Garuda and the universal form. And who could not understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this was also bewilderment. But this bewilderment was due to Mahamaya. Therefore, it is to be concluded that the Maya which drags a person from the Supreme Personality of Godhead is called Jadamaya or Mahamaya. And the Maya which acts on the transcendental platform is called Yogamaya. So when Nanda Maharaj was taken away by Varuna, he saw Krishna's opulence. He thought of Krishna as his son. So such feelings of parental love in the spiritual world are acts of Yogamaya, not of Mahamaya. So let us understand how the transcendental sound vibration can purify the whole existence. How is the transcendental vibration, right? So we are all contaminated. The process of purifying our existence is a continuous process. Nityam. 60,000 rishis, including Yamaraj, had recited Srimad Bhagavatam for 1,000 years, and not just for 7 days. And there was no death at that time. Scripture is more important than breathing. The main obstacle in the process of purification is that we are contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature. And therefore, we are diseased. Purification and goodness is experienced. How do you experience purification and goodness? By going early to bed and early to rise. Performing Mangala Arati, chanting, reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This is how purification and goodness can be experienced. Another cause of contamination is that we are exploiting the resources. So in the name of advancement, we are wasting so much of like plastic, paper, petrol, electricity, water, manpower, and time on a daily basis. We are wasting. This should be stopped, complete immediate effect. We must realize that all the resources are Krishna's energy. And we should use them only for his pleasure and not waste it, simply waste it, right? Always try to live in natural environment and stop living like a conditional life. We are already conditioned. We are adding the condition like air condition, all the more conditions. So to keep our existence free from contamination, we must get rid of anger, which clots our blood, resulting in disturbance in blood circulation and loss of peace of mind. If we are peaceful, contamination will be removed. See, by way of an acronym, we can understand about anger. I made an acronym as anger, A-N-G-E-R. Let us see a few points how we can relate. A is atheism. How can we become angry if we believe in the existence of the Lord? See, we have no unflinching faith in the control of the Lord. And this results in anger. So this mentality has to be driven away from our lives. We have to habituate ourselves to think about these things seriously in our lives. Krishna declares in Bhagavad Gita 2.63, Krodha bhavati sammoha. From anger, complete delusion arises. Therefore, atheism has to be avoided. The second one is N, negation of Vedic principles. Unless we have an affirmative approach to Vedic principles, contamination cannot be avoided. Anger is the supreme contamination. And how much hard labor we have to do to remove this contamination, right? Not so easy. The third point is greedy, A-N-G, greedy. There is no end to our greedy nature. Greed means we are not satisfied with our possessions, and this results in anger. The medicine of greed is satisfaction, santosha. In any condition of life, santosha yena kenava. Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushta yena kenava. So we see from scriptures that Hiranyakashipu is the personification of greed. And what happened to him? He was ultimately destroyed. Next point is envious. In anger, no? Atheism, negation of Vedic principles, greedy, and then E, envious. We are unhappy not because of our dukkha, but by seeing others' happiness. So we have to get rid of the contamination of envy from our lives. And for R, in the Sanskrit, is there Raurava. Raurava means hell. So with our anger, we end up in Raurava, hell, which is a horrible suffering. We never have the idea that we are being entangled in all the unwanted paraphernalia we have created in the material world in the name of advancement. So we should try to get rid of the contamination of the hellish way of living and learn to live in peaceful and sattvic surroundings. So this is the acronym by which we can understand anger, no? Atheism, negation of Vedic principles, greedy, envious, and Raurava, hell. So when we follow these instructions, what will happen? Our health will be in good state, and ultimately we can glorify and chant the holy name of the Lord with love and affection. Srila Prabhupada explained the purport that anyone who takes to Krishna consciousness in all sincerity, even if he is not very advanced in good behavior, he is purified. So the conclusion is that if one takes to Krishna consciousness with all seriousness, he is to be understood as already purified. And Krishna is ready to give him protection by all means. The Lord assures herein, no, that he is ready to give protection to his devotee, even if there is need to cut off part of his own body. Can we imagine how merciful is the Lord to us? So let us all pray at the lotus feet of Guru, Prabhupada, and Krishna, that may we all realize the importance of the resources and properly use them for Krishna's service and get rid of anger to steadily progress in purification process. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gurudev ki jai. Thank you very much, Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. If anybody wants to share anything or any questions, can do that. Any takeaway from today's class? Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasamudbhyam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Sorry, Mataji, you got disconnected. You were not able to recite the word.
The anger was simply superb, superb, superb. The very first, what is the expansion of A? What is the word you said, sir? Atheism.
Atheism. Atheism, yeah.
What is the spelling, sir?
A-T-H-E-I-S-M.
Oh, atheism.
Atheist,
Okay.
yeah, atheism.
Okay. It was not rather audible to me. However, that's why I disturbed.
Sure.
And when you gave me the chance to recite this slokas, I forgot to unmute Prabhuji. Sorry. I took your time. Sorry.
No, even I also because I got out also. It's okay. No problem. Thank you.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thanks. So anybody else want to share anything or any questions? If nothing is there, we can stop here, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Anything you want to share? Anything you want to ask, Mataji?
It was very wonderful that learned many things about
Oh, thank you.
uh,
Your voice is not
noise.
audible.
Hare
But anyway,
Krishna,
thank you very
Prabhuji.
much.
Please
Yes, Nirmala.
repeat the anger acronym, Prabhuji. A for
Sure,
atheism.
sure.
Yes.
Just hold on. Yeah. A for atheism,
Okay.
N for negation of Vedic principles,
Okay.
G for greedy, and E for envious.
R
The last
for
one is a last one is
Raurava.
Raurava, R-A-U-R-A-V-A, Raurava, that means hell.
Okay. Thank you,
Is it okay,
Prabhuji.
Mother?
Yes,
Thank you.
very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, no, not more problems. It's okay, fine. Thank you. So anyway, take care, be safe. Hare Krishna. We'll stop here. Vancha kalpatarubhishya. Thank you, Balaji, for joining and listening verses. Shanta Govinda Madas, Guruji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Vancha kalpatarubhishya kripa sindhu bhaya vicha patitanam pavane purush. Tantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagannath Baleశ్వర Bhagavan ki Shri. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. The class. Revati Nanda Prabhu, it's okay. You can close.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Prabhu. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.